Hello and welcome. It's Monday, the 26th of May. You're tuned in to our 10 a.m. newscast here on ARIRANG TV. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. Authorities say the fugitive owner of the sunken Sewol ferry is almost certainly still in Korea, as he was spotted in the south of the country late last week. The reward for his capture has been increased tenfold to $500,000. Korea's second largest web portal, Daum, officially announces plans to merge with Kakao, the country's top mobile messenger service, through a stock swap. Plus, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi is due in Seoul today for talks with his South Korean counterpart. Seoul will ask for Beijing's cooperation in stopping Pyongyang from conducting another nuclear test. We start with the latest on the investigation into the Sewol ferry disaster. Authorities say there is a very strong chance the fugitive owner of the ferry is still in Korea. Yoo Byung-an was spotted in the south of the country late last week, but has since dropped off the radar. Our Connie Lee starts us off.
One of the most wanted men in Korea has been spotted after being on the run for about a week. Prosecutors have confirmed that Yoo Byung-an, the de facto owner of the sunken Sewol ferry, was in Suncheon, southern Korea, just days ago. Investigators say Yoo is no longer in the city, but the sighting confirms that the 73-year-old was in fact in the country and may still be in Korea. Also on Sunday, authorities arrested 4 people for allegedly helping Yoo flee. Prosecutors say all 4 of them are members of the religious cult led by the ferry owner, and that one of the arrests was made after the person was seen on surveillance cameras at the religious cult's headquarters. To help with the search, the cash rewards for information on Yoo and his eldest son have gone up. Prosecutors are now offering up to $500,000 for anyone with information on the elder Yoo and almost $100,000 for tips on the son. And in related news from Korea's southwestern island of Chindo, efforts to find the bodies of those still missing from the sunken Sewol ferry have been halted for now and could remain stalled until Monday. Bad weather conditions, including fast tidal currents and foggy conditions, have prevented divers from searching for the last 16 bodies still underwater. No bodies have been recovered since Wednesday, and the death toll stands at 288. But officials say that once the weather conditions improve, they will attempt to use remotely operated vehicles or ROVs to facilitate the search. Connie Lee, ARIRANG News.
Some of the people hit hardest by the Sewol ferry disaster are the owners of small and mid-sized businesses near the site of the sinking. More than 11,000 tours have been cancelled since the disaster, denting the incomes of tour operators and related businesses. Government officials processing state aid requests say they have allocated more than $11.4 million in new loans to firms in areas close to the sinking since the aid program began in mid-May. But government data shows the delivery has been slow, primarily because many small businesses can't meet the very strict qualification requirements. Business owners are calling on the government to establish a special rescue fund. North Korea and Japan will hold another round of government-level talks in Sweden for 3 days from this Monday. Tokyo is expected to demand an investigation into the issue of Japanese abductees, while Pyongyang will likely call for eased sanctions in return. Now, Kim Min-ji reports.
Senior officials from North Korea and Japan will sit down for government-level talks on this Monday in Stockholm, following up on the two countries' first talks in more than a year in March. The North Korean delegation will be led by Song Il-ho, its ambassador for handling relations with Japan, while Junichi Ilhara, chief of the Asian and Oceanian Affairs Bureau at Japan's foreign ministry, will lead the Japanese delegation. A range of issues are expected to be discussed during the 3-day meeting, but the Japanese abductee issue will likely top the agenda. Tokyo is again expected to call for a re-investigation into the whereabouts of Japanese nationals who were allegedly abducted by Pyongyang in the 1970s and 80s. This time, it reportedly plans to get a promise from the North in the form of a document.
The Abe administration has a strong determination to solve the abductee issue, no matter what, and will consider all methods.
North Korea will likely demand Japan to ease sanctions in return.
We plan to negotiate on issues regarding how to implement the North Korea-Japan-Pyongyang Declaration and also any issues that could follow after the implementation.
Attention is also on whether the North Korean delegation will include an official from its state security agency. The agency reportedly played a big role during the visit of then Japanese Prime Minister Junichi Ilhara to Pyongyang in 2002. Likewise, Japan is also expected to slot in a cabinet official that handles North Korean affairs. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi is set to arrive in Seoul on this Monday for a two-day trip. This will be his first time traveling to South Korea since he took office. South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and Wang are expected to discuss issues regarding North Korea. A South Korean government official says Seoul will ask for Beijing's cooperation in stopping Pyongyang from pursuing its nuclear ambitions and conducting another, fourth, nuclear test. Wang will meet with President Park Geun-hye before leaving back to China on Tuesday. He will likely fine-tune the details of Chinese President Xi Jinping's scheduled visit to South Korea next month as well. Former Japanese Prime Minister Tomoichi Murayama says acknowledging Japan's responsibility for war was not for Korea or China, but actually for Japan. In a special lecture in Tokyo Sunday, the 91-year-old politician stressed the Murayama statement was not a personal, but rather an official, unanimous cabinet decision, which was highly valued by the international community, including Japan's Asian neighbours. As for the current Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's push to allow Tokyo to exercise its collective self-defence right by reinterpreting Japan's pacifist constitution, Murayama said, if that happens, the constitution will lose its meaning. The right to collective self-defence essentially means Japan would be able to respond militarily if an ally came under attack. The Murayama statement, released in 1995, apologised for the damage Japan caused to its Asian neighbours during World War II. Now, Japan and China have accused each other's air forces of dangerous behaviour near a disputed island chain in the East China Sea. Japan says Chinese fighters came within 50 metres to a Japanese surveillance plane, and it accused China of, quote, going over the top in its approach to territorial dispute regarding the Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands. China's defence ministry argues that Japanese planes entered China's air defence zone and carried out dangerous actions during China's joint maritime exercises with Russia. Regional tensions have been running high in recent months over Beijing's territorial claims, and defence analysts around the world now fear the tensions could eventually escalate beyond mere verbal warnings. Back here in South Korea, and with just over 1 week before local elections, the main rival parties were out and are out again today, campaigning in the most hotly contested constituencies. The ruling Saenuri Party stumped in Gyeonggi-do province on Sunday, a key battlefield that is home to the victims of the Sewol ferry disaster, while the opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy campaigned in Seoul and Incheon. A new education proposal became the hot topic, the controversial issue this weekend, after Kim Jin-pyo, the opposition candidate for Gyeonggi-do province governor, promised to make daycare centre workers government employees in a bid to boost their job stability. The Saenuri Party, the ruling party, blasted the proposal, saying it will cost the country roughly $10 billion. Now, things are about to get even more competitive in Korea's cutthroat tech industry. Korea's largest mobile messenger service, Kakao, and the second largest web portal company, Daum Communications, have announced their plans to merge. The merger, which is going to be one of the largest ever involving internet-based companies in Korea, could pose a threat to the nation's biggest search engine, Naver. Na Hyung-gang reports.
It will be called Daum Kakao, and the new company will keep Korea's #1 web portal Naver on its toes, according to industry insiders. Taum Communications and Kakao on Monday announced the merger with a share swap ratio of 2-3. That means every 2 shares of Taum will be equivalent to 3 shares of Kakao. Taum was founded in 1995 and was the biggest and most popular web portal at the time in Korea, but with the rise of Naver in the early 2000s, it started to lose ground in the market. Taum, which is currently listed on the tech-heavy Kosdaq, is valued at more than 1 trillion won or $1 billion, while the unlisted Kakao is estimated to be worth $2.3 billion. Kakao Talk is used by virtually every smartphone user in Korea. The words the heads of the 2 companies used were creating synergy effects when describing the merger. Taum's backlog of data will be beneficial to Kakao, while Kakao's mobile platform will help Taum expand into overseas markets. But industry watchers are interpreting this as uniting against Naver. Naver, which is listed on the benchmark Kospi, has a market capitalization of $25 billion. 나현경, 아리랑 뉴스.
Now, Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Gun-hee has regained consciousness for the first time since his heart attack on May 10th. Doctors at Samsung Medical Center say Lee has been improving by the day, and they expressed optimism the 72-year-old would soon regain other cognitive functions. They added that his heart, lungs and other organs remain in perfectly normal shape. Lee, who helped build Samsung Electronics into one of the world's biggest tech firms, has undergone a procedure to widen his blood vessels and has had a stent implanted to maintain blood flow to his heart. The number of household loans given out by Korean banks has dropped to a 13-year low. The Bank of Korea says that by the end of 2013, household loans represented less than 42% of the roughly $472 billion in total bank loans. That's the lowest percentage since the year 2000. Last year, though, it was a different story. A growing number of people then borrowed heavily to finance their high mortgages. The central bank says stricter borrowing criteria at banks meant more households turned to non-monetary institutions, even though their interest rates are much higher than banks. Time now for a look through the international headlines we're following this morning. For that, we connect to our Eunice Kim, who's standing by at the news center. A very good morning, Eunice. It looks like a victory for long-time Ukrainian politician Petro Poroshenko.
Hi, Mark. That's right. We are waiting on official results that should be out any minute now. But yes, billionaire candy tycoon Petro Poroshenko earlier this morning did claim victory in his country's presidential elections on exit poll numbers that gave him 56% of Sunday's vote. That's enough for the 48-year-old to bypass a runoff against the runner-up, former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko. Poroshenko is not new to politics. As you said, he served in the cabinet of ousted President Viktor Yanukovych and the administration before that. In his acceptance speech, he vowed to end the months-long conflict riddling his country and align it with Europe. Meanwhile, Kiev's Elections Commission said voter turnout was at about 60%, though less than 20% of the polling stations were open in Eastern Europe, where threats of violence by pro-Russian militants did prevent citizens there from voting. European voters appear to be handing a warning to their political establishment as exit polls show anti-EU parties making sweeping gains in the bloc's parliamentary elections. While the majority in the 751-member European Parliament will still be held by center-left and center-right parties, far-right groups look to be gaining a louder voice. French media report the country's extreme nationalists, the National Front, won an estimated 25% of the votes, putting it ahead of both the center-right and President François Hollande's Socialist Party. Far-right wins are also expected for Denmark and Austria. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls calls the election results more than a warning, as analysts say it's an expression of dissatisfaction with how the economic crisis has been handled. Anti-military sources say former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra is no longer in military custody after she and some 150 others were summoned to report to the ruling military junta on Friday. The source says she was allowed to walk out on Friday after being instructed to, quote, help maintain peace and order, but her aides say she does not have freedom of movement or communication. Meanwhile, the junta issued warnings through various broadcast channels on Sunday to avoid protests. Despite the ban on political gatherings, more than 1,000 demonstrators opposing the coup marched across the capital of Bangkok over the weekend, and more protests are expected on this Monday. Also on Monday, Pope Francis heads to Israel in the final leg of his 3-day papal sojourn to the Holy Land. Earlier in Bethlehem, he made a surprise stop at the controversial separation barrier, a wall put up 10 years ago by Israeli leaders who say it is necessary to stave off attacks by Palestinians. The Argentinian pontiff also said the breakdown in peace talks between Israel and Palestine was, quote, unacceptable, and in an apparently spontaneous move, invited the presidents of both sides to the Vatican next month to pray for peace. His trip comes on the 50th anniversary of a historic meeting of Catholic and Orthodox leaders whose churches split in the year 1054.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers $15 billion. Getting a flat tire can be a real drag, but having a blowout while driving can cause serious injury, even death. Researchers here in Korea say these worries may soon be consigned to the past as they have developed tires that are almost impossible, they say, to puncture. Sun Jung-in reports.
A group of researchers placed several ping-pong balls onto a platform carrier to measure the vibration caused by wheels. They installed average tires onto one platform and so-called smart tires onto the other one. When running on the road, the balls on average tires bounce continuously due to the vibration. However, the ping-pong balls on smart tires stay relatively still and the tires run without making much noise. Researchers say the secret lies in a structure inside the wheels that disperse the weight of air added to the tires. Using a cushion effect, they have solved the problem of both vibration and noise.
The air pressure applied on the tires is dispersed inside, causing a cushion effect.
The smart tires do not require it to be made of rubber, which means less of a chance of getting a flat tire. Among new tires introduced by multinational companies, these locally developed smart tires are well received.
I believe the technology to disperse the pressure is superior than the so-called hive structure developed in other countries.
Experts believe the smart tire, which is currently being introduced on carts and beds, is sure to lead the global tire industry once it is further developed. Sun Jung-in, ARIRANG News.
Now, if you're a frequent air traveller, you might want to listen up because while most people know that airplanes are one of the most convenient, safest and quickest ways to get around, they're certainly not the cleanest, according to this report at least. Our Paulie has this report.
From armrests to seats and tray tables, just about anything you come into contact with on airplanes will be swarming with disease-causing bacteria. And making matters worse, these dangerous germs can linger for days. A team of researchers at Auburn University took actual parts of an airplane and examined the ability of bacteria to survive on their surfaces in real cabin conditions. The experiment found that methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus survived for 6 days on armrests and 5 days on tray tables. The bacteria, which is resistant to almost all drugs and can be life-threatening, lived up to a week inside seat pockets. The E. coli bacteria, which can cause intestinal inflammation, thrived for 4 days on armrests and 3 days on tray tables.
We figured out that these pathogens can remain on these surfaces over a week, and there is a high risk of them being transmitted from these surfaces to the fingers of the passengers.
A U.S. airline company, however, said that passengers shouldn't be worried, as disinfection procedures are routinely carried out inside the cabins every day. But experts advise passengers should wash their hands frequently and bring along a packet of sanitary wipes just to be safe. Paul Yi, ARIRANG News.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off in the LPGA with the Airbus LPGA Classic. Now, Park In-bi, who's currently ranked #1 in the world for the 58th consecutive week, went into the event hoping to win her first LPGA title this season. Fortunately for her, she didn't even make the cut after the second round. After shooting a 74 and a 76, Park In-bi misses the cut for the first time since May 23rd of last year at the Prayer Silk Bahamas Classic. Meanwhile, Stacey Lewis, who has had a great weekend, has a chance at taking over the top ranking in the LPGA as she's currently threatening Park In-bi's 58 straight weeks at the top of the LPGA ranking. And now moving over to some Sunday's KBO action, the Kia Tigers win one over the Lotte Giants 7-5 with the SK Wyverns beating the LG Twins 9-6, and the Samsung Lions crushed the Nexen Heroes 18-2 for their 11th straight win. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the red-hot Hanwha Eagles take on the Tucson Bears. And of course, going into the game, here we go over to the first inning. Men on second and third. Kim Tae-gyun grounds out to third. This scores Lee Young-gyu, and it's 1-0 Hanwha. Next batter, Felix Pie here with a clutch single to right, and it's now 2-0. Meanwhile, check out this next play here. Second inning, Chung Bo-mo grounds out to third here, and wait a second, the ball gets stuck inside Lee Won-suk's jersey, but no harm done though. Meanwhile, Hanwha up 3-0 in the third. Hug Young-min with an RBI triple to right center field makes it 3-1. Next play, Jorge Cantu at bat, an RBI double this time, and it's now 3-2. But we're not done yet. Hong Sang-eun with a clutch single up the middle ties the ball game 3-3. Wait, let's make that 4-3 thanks to Yang Yi-ji's RBI double here, and Tucson's taking the lead. Fifth inning, both teams tied once again, but Yang Yi-ji says hello and goodbye. 3-run shot over the left field wall, and Tucson takes the lead again, 7-4. Meanwhile, after an on and off rain throughout the day and 30 hits between the two teams, the Tucson Bears take the series with a 9-6 win over the Hanwha Eagles. And staying with baseball, with the LA Dodgers taking on the Philadelphia Phillies, Josh Beckett tosses a no-hitter while striking out 6 hitters and walking 3. The Dodgers win 6-0, but for Josh Beckett, history has been made. And now with that said, moving over to the 2014 Women's Asian Cup, where South Korea faced off against China for the second time in the tournament, this time in the third-fourth place matchup. And with the match tied 1-1 with just a few minutes left in the clock, a last-minute goal from China gives Korea the 2-1 loss as they finish 4th in the tournament. And now moving on and staying with football, but over to the 2014 UEFA Champions League final between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, who faced off in Lisbon. And now it took 120 minutes for the winner to be chosen. And despite Atletico looking for an upset win here after Diego Godin scores in the 36th minute of the match, Sergio Ramos, with the time winding down, scores in the 90+3 minutes and sends the match into extra time. And there, Real Madrid explodes as Gareth Bale, Marcelo, and Cristiano Ronaldo scores, giving Real Madrid the 4-1 victory as they claim their historic 10th European title over the weekend. And now finishing things off in track and field, where despite the absence of Usain Bolt, the Jamaican men's relay team set a new 800-meter world record at the IAAF World Relay Championship after coming in at its final time of 1 minute 18.63 seconds, breaking the previous record set in 1994 by 5/100th of a second. Congratulations to them, and with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, most of the lingering rain from yesterday has cleared up, and unlike unsettled day we had yesterday, the weather should improve today. The sun and warm temperature is returning to the nation to kick off the new week. And the weather outlook for this week here in Seoul is looking hot and sunny. No rain is in store, only the sun. And as we can see, temperatures will be on the rise, and at the end of the week, readings will soar to 30 degrees Celsius. And moving over to Jindo, the weather conditions have not been cooperating so well. Heavy rain and gusty winds swept the area over the weekend, but rain has let up and waves should be calmer, but the winds will continue to blow strong today. With that, here are the readings for today. The high in Seoul will rise to 25, while Daegu tops out at 30, and Gwangju and Busan both should climb to 27 later on. And for other regions, down on Jeju and Dokdo should see a high of 24, while Myeonggang tops out at 16. Well, that's all for now, but I'll be back with more updates afternoon.
Thank you very much, Jion, there for the weather. That's all for now. We'll be back at noon for another newscast. Until then, goodbye.